Slasher here at Valve's Dota 2 Championships in the International. I'm here with Team Liquid founder and owner, Victor Nazgul Goosens. Your team got 7th to 8th place here, losing to IG in the losers bracket, earning about $42,000 to $43,000, depending on how many sales the compendium does by the end of the tournament. Nazgul, guys played pretty well. You had an incredible comeback yesterday, which might have been the highlight of TI3 this weekend. But you guys did fall to 7th to 8th place. Are you satisfied with your performance?
I mean, satisfied is a pretty low standard. So yeah, I am satisfied. But obviously, their ultimate goal is not to get 7th or 8th. Like they wanted to go all the way. But I think eventually, if you just look back at the tournament and the level we were at before TI started, how well we practiced, it's a good result.
Now coming in, you guys were so close to making the winners bracket. And then on the last day, lost 2 big maps, and then you went down to the losers. How much effect do you think that had on the way the results happened this weekend?
Yeah, like if my math is not mistaken, I think that we were literally 1 game away.
Yeah, you were.
From 2nd place, right? Not top 4, but like if we won 1 game against IG in the group stage, we would have gotten 2nd instead of 5th. Like we would have won tiebreakers, and IG would have had less. And 2nd is way better than 3rd and 4th because you play like a lower level opponent from the other group. So that was a huge disappointment because they went to bed the day before knowing if we win 1 game against IG, we're in like a really good position at TI3. And then you go 0-2, and you go 0-2 like, and the way they lost it to IG was also like demoralizing. Wasn't even close in the group stage. So that seemed to be a pretty big shocker when it happened. And you're like, if they had to play right then to continue the tournament, I think it would have had a pretty large impact. But we had, first you had the rest day, everyone had rest. And then the first day of TI, we didn't play at all. So they had 2 full days of break. And you can just kind of recuperate, get back to your senses. Think about if you focus again, you can still get really far. And then they played MUFC first. So after they played MUFC and they beat them like pretty easily, then at that point you're really in a pretty good mindset again. Like if you beat MUFC harder than any other team has done, you're kind of feeling good about yourself. So I don't think it had much influence. Then you beat LGD, which I assume by most people would expect you to lose to, and you don't just cheese them out of the tournament. You really played them straight up with amazing play from Bilba, and right at that point I think you have forgotten all about the group stage. So no influence.
Talking to a lot of the teams here this weekend, they really feel like, especially with the results that we've seen, the North American, European community and teams, as opposed to the last few years, are now right there with China or maybe even above. Do you feel the same way about your team, the way that they performed this weekend?
Right there with China. They 2-0 Tongfu at this tournament. They beat LGD. I'd say they're almost surely below the very top of China, and the very top of China obviously fluctuates a little bit. Also at G1 they beat IG, so overall they have beaten most of the good Chinese teams, but I think they will probably be an underdog against the top of China in most matches.
Some would say the North American scene, although they're with the Europeans, might be a little bit below the top tier, at least for Alliance and Navi, who seem to be a cut above the rest. Why do you think the North American Dota community may have some issues where Europe is still a little bit ahead of them?
I mean, well, for one, I think that Dota is simply bigger in Europe, right? Russia, Ukraine especially, it's huge there. Like someone actually told me that that the US only has 1% more players than the Ukraine in total, and Ukraine is just one of the European countries. So just by a sheer amount of people that play the game, you're supposed to lag behind a little bit at the very top, right? Just because if there's more people, there's more talent, you'll be up. But at the same time, I feel like there's a good amount of talent in the US and on our team. And outside of our team, there's a lot of talent too. I just feel like they're not playing with each other right now. There's like Fear is really good on EG. I feel like if you had 5 Fears on a team, I think you'd still be doing great at TI, right? So it's probably a matter of time before there are more teams besides Liquid are created or formed. to establish like another top American team.
A lot of teams go through roster changes the internationals right after the event. Do you foresee the same happening to yours?
Foresee. I mean, obviously, I'm aware of everything that, not everything, but like more going on internally within our team than most people. And I'd say every team, even the very best, Alliance and Navi, everyone probably has some internal issues. Different thoughts on how to play the game, thoughts about a certain player, all that type of thing. So we have some of that. I think that there is a chance that there's going to be some small shuffles. But I'm going to use the next months to just talk to all of them and see where they want to go with this. But I like these 5 guys a lot, so we'll see.
Now, this year, of course, we have the International, biggest prize pool of all time. Most people may know you from having a StarCraft background, StarCraft community. Now we have Valve's own event. What do you think about the International, this year and how big it is, in general?
For me, it's just the best event I've been to. Just the way they treat the players, the way they treat the teams. Like the players get food 3 times a day for like a period of nearly 2 weeks. They get vouchers to take taxis to the event and back, and they have transportation. The player lounge is really nice. It has like warm food a couple times a day. Just the way Valve treats people is on another level from anything I've seen in esports, and I guess it's not really fair. Like you can't really ask the same from other events anyway, because Valve has such a big economy behind what they're doing here that I don't even know if they're trying to make profit off of this event or not. Like other tournaments, they must make profits, so they can't really do what Valve does. But Valve, I think in a lot of things that Valve does, they just do because they like to do them, right? The goodwill of the community, just it feels right. Also in the treatment here, whereas most other events in StarCraft, for example, if you need anything and there's a rule against it, like say you ask something from staff, whether you can go in somewhere or not, and if they just kind of look down on paper and the answer is yes or no, Valve is just kind of like, okay, well, it says here, maybe not, but well, actually we can make an exception because it makes sense for you to go there. Like Valve is just more cooperating in that sense, and they work with the teams and the players a lot, and to me it's really good.
So now Valve has this one huge event called the International with all this prize money. While, as a comparison, Blizzard has a year-long World Championship Series with multiple events and prize money split across the entire year. What do you think about the way that Valve, is currently running this? Would you rather see a year-long event, or do you think the way that it's set up now is beneficial for the community and teams?
Well, first of all, no matter how good you're doing, there have to be things that you can improve. So no matter what, so if you look at Valve, yeah, there's not a lot of big events going on, but at the same time, throughout the year, the system Valve has set up for tournaments with tournament tickets. You can sell couriers, you can watch in game, you can buy those tickets. They are contributed a lot to the ecosystem of esports in that sense, right? They allow teams to sell stuff. So I think they're already doing great. And all of those things you can't get elsewhere. Like Blizzard doesn't do that with the teams. Blizzard doesn't do that with the tournaments. I know it's not a matter of just waking up one day and being willing to do it. Like you have to program the whole client to even set up for that. But so I think Valve does a lot, and I don't think anyone should blame them for the lack of big esports events outside of the international. But there's definitely some things that could improve. Like even if you look at the TI prize money structure, I understand that if you have a $1 million prize pool at first, and it's like a huge promotional thing, right? Like it has such a big impact to say there's $1 million for first prize, and that makes sense. And then you have only $250,000 for the team below that, which is too bad. But if you have a certain budget for the prize money, so be it. Once the money from the compendium started coming in, I feel like they haven't really. They've still added a lot of money for the first prize, and there's still a pretty. It's a lot better than it was. But there's still a pretty big difference between getting first and second, and the jumps are really big. Like 7-8 is 40,000. I think 5-6 is probably 125,000. The jumps are really big, and maybe those are things that they could look at to just make it a little bit more even for this tournament itself. It would help the scene as a whole because you're spreading out the money better. But I don't blame Valve for major esports events lacking. I think they're doing a lot to support the scene with tournament tickets and such. And in a way, it's probably hard to go up against what Riot is doing if you like they provide the setting that allows the scene to grow organically with the tournament tickets and with the couriers and all that. And it's hard to go up against the pitch of just a company that just straight up offers money to host a tournament in their game, right? So I'm fine with how it's going. I hope it's going to improve, and I think next year we will see some big tournament organizers picking up Dota.
You think the tournament organizers will pick up Dota even if Valve is not directly funding them?
I imagine so, yeah. The numbers are really good, and numbers are important, so.
Now, talking about StarCraft and Blizzard and some of the issues that they may have recently with WCS, what are your general thoughts about kind of everything that's been happening with, of course, WCS this year, some of the region issues? You have all 3 events this weekend out at the same time. You have at the same time as the international leadership and responsiveness. What is your take on all of this?
I mean, there's so much to say about the StarCraft scene that a broad question, it's really hard to answer. But for example, the scheduling conflict with TI, personally, I'm convinced that they didn't want to compete with TI, but it just kind of happened. They have, for example, if ESL has a couple other dates that they can't be doing, and they just must do it on this date. I think that was kind of just forced. Like, they didn't want it, but it kind of had to be like that. But that itself shows the lack of planning in advance, because the TI is like announced so long ago that if you look at your tournament schedule, you should be scheduling stuff like 6 months or maybe even a year in advance if you're doing WCS. You don't just look at the dates 1 or 2 months in advance and see like whether ESL can do it, whether I guess Angemnet is doing this one, and whether NESL can do it on that date. It has to be done way before that. So I don't think they did it on purpose, but it should have been avoided really if the WCS was set up well enough in advance. And there's just issues like that are happening more than they should. So I really hope that they step it up.
WCS this year was made to make an easier storyline for everyone and the public watching, and also make it better for the players. It seems like it hasn't been able to do either. Do you think that WCS this year has been a detriment to the StarCraft community? And do you believe that next year things will be different because there will be more time to prepare?
Detriment. It's hard to say. Like, at this point, MLG has also said they are not going to do StarCraft anymore. If that stays that way, then you just lost like a major tournament organizer who previously was doing StarCraft and is not doing it anymore. So I think that what Blizzard is trying to do, they really need to improve it before it adds value to the scene. Like it has to be better than what they're doing right now. Personally, and I assume that's different for everyone, but I always loved the fact that GomTV just literally had the best players in the world, and that's it. Like, the GomTV champion was like, that's the #1 in the world at that moment. And I love that feeling. I love the feeling that there is one tournament that just blew everything away, and that if you wanted to watch the best, you watch that one. And the scene is a little bit diluted now in the sense that some really good players are moving to Europe, some really good players are moving to the US. So for me, for my personal viewing experience, I like the way it was with GomTV being on top before. But yeah, that's just a personal opinion. I mean, I can't say what everyone else thinks about that, but yeah.
Now, you, of course, run Team Liquid, both the team and the site. With some of the issues that Blizzard is having and the kind of increase that Dota has been having since the release of the game a month ago, do you believe that you'll make any changes the way you run your organization with StarCraft or Dota, either one way or the other?
What do you mean with that question?
Do you believe that you'll add more, remove StarCraft players, or add another Dota team, or do more Dota content and less StarCraft content, or do you think it'll pretty much stay the same as it has been?
Well, for coverage on TLNet, we literally just that staff is split, right? We don't really have writers that do StarCraft plus Dota. Most of them do StarCraft or Dota. So there's no instruction from anywhere to do that more in coverage terms, right? We're just going to do the best job we can. And besides, if you look, we still cover Brute War. We still have like an active writing staff for Brute War. We still host tournaments in Brute War. So we're not really the type of company that just makes a decision to drop a game or spend less time on it or whatever. So in terms of coverage, I think StarCraft is going to be totally fine on our end. And in terms of the team, there's no changes planned at all.
Lastly, do you have any things in the works that you'd like to do for Team Liquid, both as the site or the team, for either StarCraft II or Dota?
Well, we're still in a partnership with Valve for shirts. We make shirts of Dota heroes now, and we're going to come out with a new one pretty soon. It's going to be a Windrunner shirt, and Valve has given us the option to add items to the shirts. So we're also working on an item for that same shirt, and so the next shirt we'll be selling will be it'll include an in-game item, and as you can see here at the store, like it's a big deal. So we're happy that Valve gives us that opportunity to work with them, and they just they make it work. Like they saw what we did and they liked it, and if they see something they like, they're just gonna try and make it work. They don't send it to their legal department, and their legal department looks at you and be like, hey, who are these guys? We're just going to shoot it down. No, they try to work with the people that they like, and that's something that's really good for the scene.
Thank you, Nazgul, and good luck in the rest of 2013, both StarCraft II, Dota, and everything else you guys do.
Thank you.
Stay tuned to GameSpot.com/esports for coverage all weekend long of TI3.